the form of mean, median, variance, correlation, some small plots where you will be able to identify some information out of your data. This is what is called your statistics is all about. Then the first two terms already I think you are familiar with. You have a population, you have a sample. That is, population is the entire collection of objects is called your population. And of course, for testing purpose or for statistical purpose, we are not going to take the entire population and study. Maybe we will take a small sample out of it and we will be doing something with the samples. This is what normally which we are going to do. Then what descriptive statistics it will do is it will just summarize your data in a meaningful way in such a way that some patterns will emerge out of your data. What do you mean by pattern? That is, pattern in the sense, say if you have a data set with you, what is the total salary drawn by all the faculty in a college, or how many faculty are earning more than say 50,000 or earning lesser than 20,000, how many female faculty are there, how many male faculty are there. So if you summarize something out of your data, then ultimately you can conclude saying that yes, female is paid more than male, or male is paid more than female. All these patterns it will emerge out of your data if you're summarizing your data other than seeing the entire data set. Say if you have 1,000 employees, if you're seeing a data set, you won't be able to conclude anything out of your data. But if you summarize something, maybe you will get an idea of what is happening to your data. Okay, so this is what is generally descriptive statistics all about. So you can't it is just a simple way to describe your data or summarize your data. Then you have two type of called measure of central tendency. Another one is called measure of spread. So what do you mean by measure of central tendencies? Say you have a large how can you say what is the lowest highest mark, which is average, how
Ma'am, voice is breaking, ma'am.
average, how many hello, sir, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Now it is audible, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm so sorry for that. Um, you have generally measure of central tendency and you have measure of spread. That is the two categories of statistics you have. Central tendency is, say, out of 100 students, how many, what is the lowest mark, what is the highest mark, then what is the mean mark, or what is the median mark or mode mark. All these things are called a measure of central tendency. It is just a numbers which is in terms of the middle number or the lowest number or the highest number. That is called a measure of central tendency. Then you have measure of spread, in the sense how spread your data is. That is, what is the minimum, what is the maximum, how wide your data ranges are. That is called a measure of spread. So normally measure of central tendency, you will have mean, median, mode, and correlation. All these things are coming under measure of central tendency. And measure of spread, usually it will be evaluated in terms of variance and standard deviation. Okay, so these are the normal measures. Then we will see with an example how all these things can be calculated from a data set, and from the data set how can you conclude, or how can you make conclusions out of this data set. Okay? Then generally before doing any statistical analysis, what you have to do is you have to get the data. So a majority of the times we assume we have already data with us. So normally data collection is, say for example, you have to collect from some repository, or if you are collecting from a sensor data, you have to deploy your sensors at so many positions, then get your data from the sensors, read it, then put it in your Excel sheet and get a data set. This is what acquiring your data set is all about. But majority, 90% of the time, we assume, yes, we have a data set collected already with you. Then the next process is called your data set preparation. Then collect your data in the form of pandas, data frame, and data cleaning. Data cleaning is very, very important for a data scientist because the data, it will never be available with you as such. So it won't be tidy data set. So what you have to do is you have to make so you have to prepare your data first. That is the time consuming part of your general data analysis is called your getting your data and cleaning your data. Okay? So these are the general structure about your data. Then data preparation and cleaning, I think hope already you would have seen maybe in the previous classes. Say missing data, if you have a missing data, what you will do. If you have some data which is totally out of scope, what you will do. All these things are called your data pre-processing. Then you will be able to visualize your data with some packages. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with a small data set where shall I give you the code in the chat window? Is that fine? So that you can try parallelly, or you will be typing. I think typing, it will be time consuming, I suppose. So probably you can start coding with so that I can just parallelly type and give you, so that you can just start trying parallelly. So first
Yes,
method,
yes.
the first method is, yes, sir, sure. I think it is there in the chat window. You can take from the chat window so that I can parallelly put those codes in the chat window so that you can parallelly try out. Maybe you will get an interesting idea if you're trying out, or else maybe it is difficult. So as a first step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a small data set with some specific fields, and I will start exploring those data set. Each and every code, I will just give you an overall idea about each and every code so that you will get a feeling of what the data set is all about. So as a first step, what you have to do is you have to do all the importing statement as usual. Before doing any programs, you have to import all the packages. So I'm just importing pandas. Pandas is a wonderful package for doing your data analysis with your Python. So pandas is having so many functions, and it is very rich with so many functionalities and packages. So pandas is a very popular data science package. You have so many other packages that are available, such as scikit-learn for machine learning, and some pre-processing it is available. Then you have some data science packages which is by Berkeley. So many packages are available, but to my knowledge, pandas is a wonderful package which is used for all the statistical analysis. Then I am importing NumPy because NumPy is a popular package for your number analysis or some array analysis. Maybe NumPy is an important package. Then some plotting packages so that at some intervals we can just plot and see what is your data all about. Okay, then I'm just exporting a style. This style is not a compulsory field at all. If you are putting a style to your plot, what will happen is your plot, it will become bit more attractive to see. So you have so many styles, you can just search and see. You have so many styles are available. Maybe one of the style which I love the most is the 538. You can change your style, or if you're not giving such a style, nothing is going to happen. You will get your plot in a white background. That's it. So then I am going to import my data with so many columns I have. So I have so many columns, and I'm just importing my data from an online data set. Okay, so this is an online data set which is available, adult data set in the form of a .data. So that is why I'm using a function that is called a read underscore table. If it is a CSV file, it was a CSV file, directly you can use a read underscore CSV function to read your CSV data. Since this is not a CSV data, I'm just using a function that is called read underscore table, and I'm just reading those values to my data frame. Again, hope you know the meaning of the next to next parameters. Separator is the data is separated with comma, so it is a comma separated data frame. So, or comma separated data. So that is why I'm giving you specifically, I'm just telling you the panda saying that the separator is a comma. And since the data set doesn't have any columns, explicitly I'm giving you the column names. That is why I'm giving you this names is equal to columns, so that those columns, it will be appearing in your data set. And engine is equal to Python, because or else it will just give you some discrepancy with your data. Okay, so as a first step, I'm just reading an online data with me, and just head is used for displaying the first few rows of your data, so that you can explore your data and see. So as you can see, there is an age column. It is in the form of some numbers. Then employer type, that is already an existing employer. Then you have some education field. You have a education number, marital status, occupation, a relationship, gender, etc., etc. And you have a column that is called income, which will give you less than or equal to 50K, greater than or equal to 50K. That is, for time being, I'll just concentrate upon the gender column, age column, and the income column. Okay, so time being, I can do the analysis with that. So if once this analysis is complete, maybe you can try out with another columns for analysis. So you have age column, some age values that you have, and you have an income value, and you have a gender. So I'm mainly focusing on these three columns, so that I'm not explaining about all other columns. Only these three columns we will play around and see what inference you can make out of these three columns alone. Once you are clear with this, maybe you can apply this knowledge to any other columns in the data set. So this is the first step which I did. I just read the data set, and I'm just displaying those data set values. Then I'm just displaying some values, that is fine. Then the problem with this data set is I have some extra spaces for my column titles, or after my column values. Before male and female, I had an extra spaces. So I was not able to directly process with my data, because male, with just before your capital letter M, there was an extra space. So this is one of the pre-processing technique you can apply on your data set. Say, for example, I just want to delete all the extra spaces which are available in my data. So this is what the next step I'm doing. I'm just stripping off all the extra spaces which are there in my values. Actually, for my data set, I have a male and female gender column. There was a space just before F and M in my data. So I just want to delete all those things. That is why I'm using the next loop for, I'm just iterating through. One more thing is, I will just tell you the D types. D types is used for displaying the data type of your columns. So D types, it will just specifies you, or it will just give you back the data types of individual columns of your data. So if you're giving D type is equal to integer, that means your column is of data type integer. Then say if you have a float data, you will get a data set of float 64, you can see, but unfortunately we don't have any float data in our data set for time being. Then if your column values are in the form of string, it will give you the data type as an object. Okay, so hope this data types is clear with you. You have an integer data type, you have a float data type, you have an object data type. Object specifies you, it is of type string. So I will just get you the age. Age is an integer value. Then gender is an object value. Then income is an object value, because income is in the form of greater than or equal to 50,000, less than or equal to 50,000. So it is in the form of this string. So all these things are in the form of string. So the next step, what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to take those columns which are of data type object, and I'm just stripping, or apply is a function which is which can be used throughout. That is, if you take a column and give you apply, it will be applied to individual values of your column. That is called your apply. And lambda is a lambda function. It is not something related to pandas. It is a general Python lambda function. Instead of writing official functions, you can have anonymous function that is called a lambda function. So what this code it will do is it will just iterate through all the columns. It will just take you only those columns which are of data type object. Then it will apply a function that is called strip. So what strip it will do is it will just delete you extra spaces from the left hand side and right hand side of your data. So this is what this code is going to do. You can also just try out. So what it will do is it will just strip you, or it will just fetch you all the data, all the columns. It will just take you those object columns, and it will just delete you all the spaces from the data. Okay, so this is just a small pre-processing technique which we are going to apply to your data so that you will get a clean data set to you. So once I finish this, I will get a ready data set. Tail, I think, hope already you know. Head is for displaying the first few values. Tail is used for displaying the last few rows of your data. So it is not last few, it is last 5. Head is for first 5 and tail is for the last 5. And if we are applying a number over here, it will just give you that many rows from the top or bottom depending upon your command. So I finished that processing step. Then df.shape, I'm just seeing what is my size of my data. So this df.shape and df.dtypes are the common commands which you will apply for every data set to get a common idea about what data types you have and what is the shape of your data. The shape of your data, in the sense, it will just give you back how many rows you have in your data set and how many columns you have in your data set. So df.shape, it will give you rows, number of rows and number of columns. So ultimately I got, yes, I have 32,561 rows and 15 columns of my data. So once you get this shape, you will get an overall idea about yes, this is my size of my data. So further, I'm going to process on 32,561 rows along with 15 columns. This is what I'm going to do. So these are the basic commands for your pandas. Maybe you will be familiar with all these things. Then group by is a command used for, it is exactly similar to your group by command in your DBMS. It will just group your data frames according to the columns which you are giving. So it is group by dot size if you're giving. It will group your data according to the country, and it will just give you for individual country how many rows you have. Okay. So if you group by country, you will get, see, first, as a first step, you can see a question mark followed by 583. This is one of the, maybe you can call this as missing data. Say, for example, I don't have a data with me. So at that time, while the data entry operator, he'll be doing, or he'll be entering with a question mark, maybe. So this question mark, for time being in this data set, that means you don't have a country name. That is what you mean by this question mark. So you have out of 32,561 data, you have 583 rows are there without any country names. Okay, so this is what you mean by this. So it is just a pre-processing step, or just understanding about your data. That's it. So similarly, I'm just doing the group by with age. If you want, you can just put a group by with an age and see how many. That is what do you mean by this command is, for age 17, you have 395 records are there in your data. For age 18, you have 550 records of your data. Age 19, you have 712 of your data, etc., etc. Then I'm not actually going for in detail of that. What I'm going to do is, I'm just splitting my data into male and female. So I'll just find out in my data set how many males are there, how many females are there. So I'm just going to apply the next, from here onwards, we will start our analysis step. So df.gender, it will give you the gender column, and I'm just applying value underscore count. So it will just give me how many categories are there in my gender along with the counts. Okay, so if I'm applying value underscore counts, it will just give me male is 21,790 and female is 10,771. That means in my data around 32,000 rows, I have male count is 21,790 and female count is 10,771. Just look at these numbers. So generally the first inference you can make out of the data is, see, male count is around almost double as your female count. Correct? So around 32,000 of your data, around 10,000 is my female count and around 21,000 is my male count. That is male population or male values in my data set is around double. So why I'm insisting you on these numbers is later we will plot something, but that plot, it will just give you in terms of numbers. See, generally you can say the ratio of male and female is not the same. That is, you have the ratio of male population is higher and ratio of female population is lower. So if you are taking any percentage out of this data, since it is an imbalanced male and female, just the number, it won't reflect you the proper values. Maybe you have to make that into some percentage or something so that you will get a real values. Okay, so that is why I'm just insisting you these numbers. The point I just want to convey is, see, the first inference you are getting out of your data is male and female. You have only two categories, gender, you have male and female. Male population or male values are higher than that of female values. So the first inference is over. The next one, I'm just finding out, I'm just fetching my data from the data. I'm just finding out how many male category. Already I have got it. It is 21,790. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just extracting from my data set. The data set is, I'm just splitting that into male and female. In the sense, all the rows with gender as male, I'm just copying that into ML. And all the values with gender and female, I'm just copying that into FM. Okay. So already I told you, I'm going to analyze your statistical analysis. I'm going to do with gender column, age column, and your income column. These are the three columns I'm going to focus on. So I'm just splitting according to this gender column. So the first step, what I did is, I'm just finding out the gender column, and I'm just taking you the gender columns with male alone into ML and female alone into FM. So this is the first processing step I'm going to do. I'm just categorizing my data according to gender, male and female. So already I think we know the status. The 21,790, 15, you have 15 columns with you. Again, here it is 10,771 and 15 columns you have. So that is the first step I'm going to do. I'm just categorizing my data according to gender, and I'm just copying the values into two data sets. So I'm just describing it back, or I'm just getting it back as male and female. So this is what the first pre-processing step I'm going to do. Then the next process I'm going to do is, my intention is, I just want to find out the male with higher incomes and female with higher incomes. The next category I'm going to split. Already the first splitting is over. I just splitted my data into two parts, male and female. That count is with me. That is 21,790 and 10,771. The next category splitting I'm going to do is, how many males are there with higher incomes and how many females are there with higher income. So I'm just splitting my data again into two parts, male higher income and female higher income. Hope you understand at this step. That is, I'm just finding out. So the data which I need is male and the income should be greater than or equal to 50K. Say assume greater than or equal to 50K. I am assuming that is a higher income. So I'm just splitting again my data. That is, I'm just putting that into a variable, that is ML1 and FM1. So the step is, I'm just creating a data frame with a male and a higher income, female and a higher income. So ultimately I'm getting a ratio that is 6,662 out of 21,790 males. 6,662 males are having higher income, and out of female with 10,771, 1,179 females are having higher income. Okay, so these are the two values. From this value itself, you will be able to infer something, right? See, out of 21,000, you have around 6,662 males are had higher income, but out of 10,771 females, higher income females are only 1,179. Correct? So here itself you can just make a conclusion of saying that the higher income males are comparatively higher than higher income females. Okay, so this is the first analysis which we are going to do. What is the percentage of male is having higher income? What is the percentage of female is having higher income? Of course, there is a difference in the male count and the female count. So instead of seeing these numbers, what we are going to do now is I'm just putting this in terms of percentages, because since the number it's not going to make any difference, I'm just putting this in the form of percentages. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, again, hope you understood all these things. I just find out the male count, female count, then I find out male with higher income, female with higher income. So I got so many numbers with me. Now I'm just going to find out how many people are having higher income in the total data set. So first step, I got female higher income population. Then I got male higher income population. See, I got those numbers. Since the male and female count is imbalanced, I'm going to represent this in the form of percentage so that we will get a better idea. So for that, first step, I just find out the total number of people, those who are having higher incomes in my entire data set. And how can I find out the rate of people with higher income? Rate of people with higher income is equal to length of people with higher income divided by total number of people. Correct? So this is what is called the first analysis which I'm going to make out of my data. That from the total 100% of my data, I got 24% of the people are having higher income. That is a general information. I'm not splitting that into male and female. In general, if I'm taking in terms of percentage, 24% of your data out of 32,000 rows is having higher income. The next question, I'm just finding out the percentage of, say, male and female separately. Already we have got an ML1 and FM1. Hope you know those numbers. ML1 is a data set which is having male with the higher income. FM1 is female with higher income. So male with higher income divided by total male count and female with higher income divided by total female count will give you percentage of men with higher income and percentage of female with higher income. Hope you understood the code. This is how you can make analysis out of your data. So as usual, as expected, see those percentages. In my data set, men with higher income is 30% and women with higher income is only 10%. So you can make a conclusion saying that men are having higher income than female in my data set. Okay? So this is how you can infer out of your data. So you have male count, female count, male with higher income count, female with higher income count, and from these numbers you can create a percentage saying that 30% of the men are with higher income from my data, but higher income females are only 10%. So ultimate conclusion is men are having higher income than female in my data. This is the first conclusion I'm making out of my data set. So in my data, I'll be able to understand this is the general description or general conclusion I can make in my data. Okay, so this is the first category of conclusions which I can make out of the data. Okay, hope you will be able to follow what I'm telling. Any queries you have, please?
What is the use of SAPE?
What is the use of?
SAPE, SHAPE, SAPE.
Shape will give you the number of rows and number of columns.
Okay.
Shape will give you the number of rows and number of columns. That means if you are applying shape on your original data set, it'll just give you the number of rows and number of columns of your data. At least you will get an idea of how many rows you have in your data set.
Yes, ma'am.
Everywhere it is the same.
Yeah.
So hope it is clear. The first conclusion what we made out of your data is men are having higher income than female in my data. Again, it is all in terms of my data set. So in my data set, the data is in such a way that there is a higher income variation between male and female. So
Excuse
the
me,
next, yes, please.
we have found all the things, the high income of male and female.
Yes, sir.
How we are going to predict or use this in future? How we are going to predict the future values?
Sir,
In what
for
way
prediction, the prediction, of course, you have to apply some machine learning model. Prediction, you have to apply a machine learning model to predict with those features. Say if I'm taking only these three, that is age, the gender, and the salary, of course, you have to apply some machine learning model for predictive analytics. Because with this normal analysis, you won't be able to predict. This is just used for only analysis. So generally, you will get some idea of your data. That is what the statistics will do. Hope it is clear. So we will go for this. Is the first very simple analysis we made out of the data. The next one, we will summarize our data. This is also very important. At times, maybe you should decide upon what summary statistics are you going to use. So we will start with a basic or very simple summary of your data. The first summary, hope everybody know the meaning of this. The first one is called, so generally, if we are grading, say 100 students are there in our class, generally if we start grading, normally we will start with what is the average mark of the class. This is what normally we will start with. So I will also start with the same number. The first summary statistics, if you're getting a data, is called your mean or average. So the equation already, you know, the equation of your average, sigma xi divided by n. This is your mean of your data. So from the data set, I'm going to find out the average. The average for finding out, say I just want to find out the average age of men and female. Okay, so men and women, I just want to find out the average age of men and women. ML dot age, it will give you the age column of your male, and FM dot age, it will give you the age column of your female. Okay, so I'm just finding out the first summary statistics which we are going to apply is called your mean. So I'm going to apply the first summary statistics, that is called mean, and just going to find out the average age of men and average age of women. Okay. So first, as a first summary statistics, I will do, or I'll just print the average age of men and women, and I'm getting the number. You can see the number. See, average age of men is 39.4 and average age of women is 36.8. Okay, there is a small difference in the average age in case of male and female. So average age of male is a bit higher level. It is not so high, or there is no so much of variation is not there, but still you have a small variation in the average age of men and women. The next one, say again, I will go for another analysis, that is called, what is the average age of high income men and high income female? Again, I have an ML1. Hope you were remembering this ML1. ML1 is a data set which you extracted with high income male and high income female. So I'm just taking you from that group. I'm just finding out the mean for male and female. So you can clearly see generally average age of male is 39, female is 36. High income male is 44, high income female is 42. That is, as the age increases, then only their income is increasing. Maybe this you can conclude without this conclusion also, but this is how you can make conclusions out of your data. That is, you can clearly see the difference. It was 39 and it is increased to 44, and it was 36, now it is increased to 42. That is, as the age increases, only your salary is increasing or your income is increasing. So as the normal trend, it is slightly higher than, or the high income, as you reach high income, your age is bit moving in the upward direction. Okay, so you had a 39 and it is changed to 44, and you have a 36 and it is moved out to 49. So this is the first conclusion you can make out of your data. The average age of men and women, or male high income men and high income female, you can just have a comparison as a first step. So this is what is the first statistical analysis in terms of mean, and you can conclude that the average income of male and female is bit higher if you compare along with an higher income case. Okay. So this is the first analysis we can make out of your data with normal statistics. Then mean is one of the majority of the times, mean is one of the best statistics for concluding your data, but there are times where mean is not going to work out. I'll explain you on what cases mean is not a good summary statistics at all. So first, normally majority of the cases, mean is a valid, or it is a reasonable summary statistics. Then the next summary statistics which we are going to do is variance and standard deviation. I think variance and standard deviation is almost the same. Variance is sigma square and standard deviation is sigma. That is, the square root of your variance is called your standard deviation. Next, what is the significance of this standard deviation? Standard deviation, it will just tell you how spread your data is. How spread your data in the sense, say, assume you have a normal distribution curve. If you have a normal distribution curve, by standard rule, 68% of your data, if it is a perfectly normal distribution, again, you can never find a perfect standard normal distribution at any cases. You will get nearly normal distribution. So by theory, 68% of your data is coming within one standard deviation from the mean, and around, as the standard deviation increases, your percentage of the value, it is keep on increasing, and ultimately around 99% of your data will be within 3 standard deviations away. That is, if you have a standard deviation, you can infer from the standard deviation saying that, say for example, your average value is 50, and your standard deviation is 10, then you can by seeing if it is almost normal, you can say 68% of the people in the class will be under the category of 50 minus 10 and 50 plus 10. So you will get an idea of, yes, 68% of the students, or out of 100, 68 students are coming under the range of 40 to 60. So this is how you can interpret your standard deviation value. Again, you have 99% of the values are between 3 standard deviations away, and still you have some outliers will be there, which are there at the tail of your normal distribution. Okay? So this is how you can interpret standard deviation. So while seeing your mean and the standard deviation, you will get an idea of how your value is distributed. So I'm just finding out the mean, variance. Why are we not going for variances? Variance is in the unit of square units. Say if it is in a mark case, you will get variance value will be square marks. So that is why we are taking a square root of, so that it will be, the units will be same as your data. So you have variance and standard deviation. There is no difference between variance and standard deviation. Standard deviation is the square root of your variance. Okay. So you can see the value which is used for finding out mean is mean, and you have a command that is called variance, and you have a command that is called standard deviation. So you will be able to find out, see, mean is 39, standard deviation is 13. That means you have 39 minus 13 and 39 plus 13, 68% of your data will be lie between these two values. So this is how you can interpret your standard deviation and variance. Say if you apply 3 standard deviation, you can say almost 99% of your value is within these 2 standard deviations. So this is how you can able to find out mean, variance and standard deviation of your data, and you will be able to identify, or you can make conclusions like this. 68, then it is 95.5 and 99.7. That is how it is distributed. 68% of your data is 1 standard deviation away. 95.5 values are 2 standard deviations away. 99 point something is 3 standard deviations away, and the rest of the 1% of your data is within the tail, that is within the tail of your normal distribution. You can see a tapering tail. You have a peak and you have a tail at the both ends. So if you get a standard deviation and if you multiply that with 3, and you can conclude almost 99% of your data within that range is your marks value within your class. This is how you can interpret your standard deviation. Similarly, you will be able to find out the mean working hours per week. You have a column that is called hours per week. So hours per week, if you want, you can conclude with variance and standard deviation. Any column, any numerical columns you can take, and you will be able to apply mean, variance and standard deviation. Any numerical columns, you will be able to find out the mean, variance and standard deviation. So this is how you can find out mean, variance and standard deviation of a numerical column. So this is how you can interpret mean and standard deviation. Majority of the times we will be talking in terms of standard deviation other than variance, but still variance is also a good measure. It is a square of your standard deviation. So hope you understood the meaning of mean, variance and standard deviation. The next a very important point about mean is mean. Generally, the equation of mean is you will sum up all the values divided by the total number of values. This is how, that is sigma xi by n. This is what you will do for a mean. But the problem with the mean is, say for example, I'm just taking, say the same case, I'm taking you the marks of students, all the students in my class. Say I have values starting from say 10, 20, 25, say out of 100 I have marks. And almost all the students I have say around 80, 85, 90, say up to 90 it is there. But say for example, one of the student is getting 100 out of 100. Or say one or two students, one student is getting 99, one student is getting 100. So in such a case, what will happen is mean is having a higher influence on your outlier values. That is, what do you mean by outlier? Definition is actually depending upon what you are assuming. But for time being, I will define outlier as it is totally different from the majority of the values. Say for example, I will assume that as an outlier. Again, you have so many definitions for outliers. Just forget about. Time being, I'll assume. See, almost all the students are having around 85 to 90 or below that. If one student alone is getting 100, maybe you can call that as an outlier. Or say one student alone is getting a digit mark. Say he got only 1 mark out of 100. That can be called as an outlier. The problem with the mean parameter is it is totally influenced by these outliers. If you have even one outlier, higher outlier in the data set, the mean, it will shift some point, a few points to the right. And if you have at least one lower outlier, the mean, it will be shifting to the left. So the problem with the mean statistic is mean is highly influenced by the outlier values. So in such cases, if you have say 2 or 3 outliers, or one more example, if I just want to say in placements, in your student placement, generally students are getting a CTC of say 3 lakhs or 4 lakhs. That is a general thing. But say for example, one of the student got in Intute with a 39 lakhs per annum. So what will happen? So you have so many students have a 3 lakhs, 4 lakhs per annum as a common value. But since you have this 139 lakh as an outlier, if you are taking average CTC for students in that year, it will be highly influenced by this 39, and that will be a bit higher. Okay, so this is the problem with the mean statistics. That is why we are going for another statistics that is called median. Okay, so median, as already you know, median is the central value of your data. That is, you arrange your data in the form of ascending or descending, and you will get the midpoint value. Say if you have the total data set is odd, number of data records are odd numbers, then perfectly you will get a median at the center point. If you have a data set is in the form of an even number, that is the number of rows is an even number, what you will do, you will take the center 2 values divided by 2. That is your median. So that is why we are going for an next statistics that is called median. Median, since mean is highly influenced by the outlier values, you can go for another parameter that is called median, and you will be able to find out the median average age and the median age of male and female, and median age of high income male and high income female. This you will be able to find out using this median. Okay. So median, as usual, something exactly similar to your mean. The next statistics is called median. Median with a function parenthesis, it will give you. As you can see the value, median age for men and women is 38, 35, and median age of high income men is 44 and 41. So you can compare this with your mean statistics. Mean was actually 39 was your high income. I think it was just high in, it is just income. So it was 39, but now it will become 38. This was 36 and this become 35. So you can see there is a point difference between mean and median. One more thing is, if your data is perfectly normally distributed, your mean and median will be the same. But of course, you're not going to get such a statistics in real cases. If it's a perfectly normal distribution, you can see the bell curve will be left hand side and the right hand side should be perfectly mirror images. Since it is not perfectly normal distribution, you can say a slight difference. The mean was 39, but the median was 38. Mean was 36, and here it was 35. That is, there is a small point decrease in the median. That means you have a higher outlier is there. Okay. So this is how you can interpret your median, or this is why we are going for a statistics that is called median. So if you have so many outliers in your data set, again I'll tell you how to find out these outliers. So if you have outliers, instead of mean, you can go for a statistics that is called median to compare your data. Then the same thing, hours per week, if you want, you can apply. Then the last statistics, actually it is not that much useful in this case, but still, mean already you know, median already you know. The next statistics which we are going to compare is called your mode. Actually, mode, as all of you know, the highest repeating number is called your mode. So highest repeating number, so it will just give you, say if I'm applying mode on an age column, it will just give you. One more thing is, in Python, mode will give you an array. I think, hope you know what is a single model data and a bimodal data and a multimodal data. Say if you have only one item which is repeating so many times, you will get a single model data. But if, say for example, 2 of the ages are repeating equally in your data set, you will get back mode as 2 numbers, And if so many numbers are repeating, you will get multi-model data back. So that is why while displaying, I'm just giving you with an array specification. Mean and median in Python, it will return you only one number, but mode, it will give you multiple values, or it will just generally it will return you an array. And I'm just displaying the first value alone, but this data set, it is having only one. But for displaying purpose, I have just taken you only the first mode value. Again, multi or bimodal data, you can assume your normal distribution with two peaks. In the sense, with two peaks, if you are getting, that is what you mean by bimodal. Or if you have multiple peaks, you can call that as multi-model data. So mode, when the mode it will be useful is, say for example, the data is categorical. Say for example, my data is categorical. Say I have a canteen running, I'm running a canteen, and I just want to know which soft drink is the most selling item. So in every bill, I have a column that is called soft drink. So the first bill I will say it is Coke, second bill I will say it is Sprite, third bill I will say again Coke, or something like that. Say I have 5 variety of soft drink with me, and each and every bill is having that soft drink name. As a canteen owner, I just want to know which soft drink I have to store more, so that, because the highest, normally what we lose, the highest selling item, we will store more as usual. So I just want to find out which is the highest selling item. In such cases, that is, I have a category data, and say 100 bills I have, I'm just finding out which soft drink is the most frequently sold item. So for that, such cases, or say for example, I have a say chappal shop, I'm just selling shoes. So I just want to find out which number, that is for each and every shoes you will have a number, say 5, 6, 7, 8. So I just want to find out which number is selling the most. That is, say size 7. Say for example, I'm just going through the bill, and the bill, one item or one column is there that is called the size of the shoe which you are selling. So I just want to find out which size is the frequently moving shoes item, so that I can store that size more, so that I can serve to people. So what should I do? I just find out the mode of the data, or mode of the shoe sizes, or mode of the soft drink item which you are selling. In such cases, you can apply a summary statistics that is called mode. So mode, generally it will be useful for categorical data, something like this. Okay? So this is the general explanation. In age category, actually it is not that much useful, but still I just want to explain you the mode. That's why I kept with an age example. But mode is used for examples like this, that is the most frequently sold soft drink, or most frequently sold shoe size. All these things you can find out using a category that is called mode. Okay? So these are the major summary statistics which you are applying: mean, median, mode, then standard deviation. These are the 4 major categories of data. Normally, majority of the times you can use a mean. Then if your data is having so many outliers, you can go for a concept that is called a median. And if your data is categorical, maybe you can go for statistics that is called mode. Then with the standard deviation, you will be able to find out how spread your data is. So these are the 4 major summary statistics or descriptive statistics you will be able to find out of your data, and this is how you can conclude out of your data. Okay? So these are the major ones. Hope I am clear. Shall I move ahead with the some more specification?
Yes, ma'am.
The next one, one of the summary statistics which you can visualize is called your plot. Sorry. With your plot, you will be able to understand or get some idea about your data. So the very famous, or the very quite popular plot which you are applying is called a box plot. Or you have a very popular summary statistics for your numerical column that is called your 5-point summary. So 5-point summary is a very popular summary statistics for your data, for your numerical kind of data. So the 5-point summary, it is dealing with min, max, then first quartile, second quartile, third quartile, or 25th percentile, 50th percentile, and 75th percentile. So this is generally called your 5-point summary of your data. It is a very popular summary of your data. So min and max, I think already you know. Min value is the minimum value in the data set. Max value is the maximum value in the data set. Then Q1 is the 25th percentile position. That means if you have a value of Q1, 25% of your value is behind or below that Q1 point. And Q2 or second quartile is called your median. So median is 50% of your data. See, with the median definition itself, you will be understanding. See, what is the median point? Median point is the say, and just for easy understanding, I assume I have 5 numbers in my data, and the median point is the third data. That is, arrange your data in an ascending order, and the third data will be your median point. So median point is called your 50th quartile, so that see 50% of your data is below that point and 50% of your data is above that point. Okay, so this is what is called your median or second quartile. And third parameter is called your 75th percentile or Q3 or third quartile. Third quartile will tell you the 75th, that is 75% of your data is below and only 25% of your data is above that point. So these are the 3 or 5 major summary statistics. So this is called 5-point summary of your data: min, max, Q1, Q2, Q3. Then for visualizing this 5-point summary, you can use a special structure that is called your box plot, and there should be some mechanism to interpret this box plot. As you can see, there is a box, then you can see a median line, then you can see 2 whiskers, and you can see some points above that with some round representation. So this is what is the general structure of your box plot. Box plot is called box and whisker plot. That is the general representation of your data. It is box and whisker plot. Again, you have another term that is called interquartile range. That is IQR. So what do you mean by IQR is? It is IQR is calculated using Q3 minus Q1. So you have 5-point summaries with you. You have X-min, that is min, max, Q1, Q2, Q3. And Q3 minus Q1 is called your interquartile range or IQR. In the IQR value, normally, I will just tell you the term of an outlier here. Generally, in your data set, you will have so many values. The IQR, you can see from the this point, that is the lowermost point is called your Q1. The central line is called your Q2. And the outermost line is called your Q3. And the whiskers, it will start from Q1 minus 1.5 into IQR and Q3 plus 1.5 into IQR. This is what is called your whiskers. That is, it will just give you, it will find out the IQR. IQR, I think already I told you, it is interquartile range. That is, it is Q3 minus Q1. So the left hand side whisker, it will start from the Q1 point and it will extend to 1.5 into IQR. That is, it is Q1 minus 1.5 into IQR. And the right hand side whisker, it will start from Q3 and it will move to Q3 plus 1.5 into IQR. Then it will stop you here. Then generally there is an assumption that if your data is within Q1 minus 1.5 into IQR and Q3 plus 1.5 into IQR, that data you can call that as normal data. And if your data is above your Q3 plus 1.5 into IQR, it can be called as higher outliers. And if your data is below your IQR Q1 minus 1.5 into IQR, you can call that as below outliers. So the dot symbols after this whisker is represented as outliers in my data. Say for example, I'm just giving you after say around, it is not reaching 80, around say 79 and above, you can call that as outliers. So this is how you can interpret a box plot. So once you get a data set with you, just draw your box plot and see, or you can clearly see, you don't have any lower outliers in my age data set at all. You can see so many higher outliers in your upper portion. This is how you can interpret your box plot. You have Q1, Q2, Q3, and you have your whiskers on the left hand side, on the right hand side. So this is how you can interpret your box plot. You have left hand side whisker, then you have a right hand side whisker, you have a Q1, Q2, Q3, and all those dots are called outliers, which are Q3 plus 1.5 into IQR or Q1 minus 1.5 into IQR below that. This is how you can create your box plot and interpret your box plot. Say for example, I just want to have a box plot gender wise. So I can have a gender wise box plot is possible. X axis I'm giving you gender. Y axis I'm giving you age. Then you will be able to interpret this box plot something like this. See, you can see a male box plot with a blue color and a female box plot with a red color. Then you can start interpreting. See, male median value is bit higher than the female median value from the picture. Then lower value seems to be both or seems to be the same. And higher value, see higher value, there is a small value difference in the higher value. Female value, the Q3 plus 1.5 into IQR is in a bit higher position than your male position. It is only a slightly different, and you have some outliers for both male and female. So this is how you can plot your box plot. So similarly in Seaborn, you have a similar plot that is called violin plot. Violin plot, what it will do is it will just give you almost appearance of, it is not appearance, it will give you almost the values as your box plot, but it will give you the distribution of your data too. So you can just try out with a violin plot. The violin plot, what this will do is it will just give you almost a structure of a box plot, and it will give you the distribution of your data so that you will clearly understand the data distribution along with these Q1, Q2, Q3 values. So that is called your violin plot. SNS dot, if you can try out SNS dot violin plot. You have an SNS dot violin plot with the same parameters you can apply over here. It will just show you a violin plot where it will just give you a plot. Hope you can see this. This is called your violin plot. This represents you the distribution of your data. Hope you can see. It is not normally distributed. Of course, it is not. Then it is almost normally distributed. The white dot at the center is called your median, and the box, you can see the box plot on the inside your violin plot. That white dot is called your median. Then as usual, this point is called your minimum value. Then this is your maximum value. Then you have your whiskers on the left and right. So along with the box plot, maybe if you try out a violin plot, it will be the distribution of the data will be much clearer to you. Then finally, we will finish interpreting our data with a histogram. Histogram is also a wonderful method for interpreting your data or find out the distribution of your data. So histogram, I'm not using SNS histogram, I'm using Matplotlib histogram. Histogram, it will just give you the data distribution with number of bins. So you have age. I'm just going to plot the histogram of my age. So I'm just creating you male age. Already I have the age column. ML already I'm just finding out the male, or the first step I did that. I'm just taking out the age column alone. Then I'm going to create a histogram. Then if you change the number of bins, maybe you will get an idea of how it is changing. Just change the number of bins, it will become thicker plots than, that is the number of the width that will become lesser. By default, I think the bin size is 10. So you can see the distribution. Is it normal distribution? It is not normally distributed. Almost, maybe you can say it is an almost normal distribution. Then I'm just putting you an X label, Y label, and all those things as usual, which you know about your plot. So this is a normal histogram. This is for male. Similarly, I'm just creating a female. Next, say for example, I just want to compare the male and female with a histogram. So I can just compare histogram of male and female. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to plot those two plots together. That is, I have a male plot, I have a female plot. So what I'm going to do is on the same axis, I'm plotting male and female all together. So I can create a structure like this. So I have some parameters you have to specify. Alpha will give you the transparency factor. Alpha is called your transparency. The value states starting from 0 to 1. If it is 1, it is a solid line. If it is 0, it is totally invisible. So that why I'm giving you those alpha parameters, so that both the plots are visible to me at the same time. Or else, if you're plotting, it will become overlapping. You won't be able to see. One will be above the other, so that you won't be able to see the clear picture of both. That is why I'm giving you a parameter that is called alpha. So from this picture, you will get some more idea about, see, both the plots are together, then you can compare the male and female. Okay, so I will tell you the general wrong assumptions which will make out of a histogram plot. So you have a male plot, you have a female plot. From this, tell me what we can conclude. I'm just concluding. See, age 20, around age 20, only 1000, female is only 1000, male is around 3000. Then, so I can say generally my intention for conclusion will be, ultimately I'll conclude saying that yes, female is lesser than male. This is what normally I'll conclude. But as a first step, I told you the number of male and female is not balanced in this data set at all. So if you are concluding something like this from the data set or from the histogram, something like this, what you will conclude, see, always female count is lesser than male. This is what normally you will conclude. But since the data set is imbalanced, if it is almost the same count, your conclusion will be perfectly fine. But since the number of male and number of female is totally imbalanced in the data set, or almost it is double in the data set, if you just represent it only using numbers, it won't give you a clear interpretation of your data. Hope you understood why I'm doing this. If you're just interpreting only with the numbers, that is why the first time we converted that into percentage. So similarly, you can do visualization also. I'm just making that normalized. That is the data, I'm going to normalize it. See, this is just a histogram plot with numbers. The same histogram, I'm applying an extra parameter that is called density is equal to true. I think older versions, it is not density. I think it is some other parameter, older version of Matplotlib or Pandas. But now latest version, it will just give you with the density. So if I'm just plotting with the density, now if the data is the same. The data is the same. See what data I'm applying. It is female age.hist and male age.hist. It is exactly the same data set I'm plotting with the histogram. Previously, I just plotted only the numbers. Now I started plotting the probability. That is, since the numbers are different, if I'm started plotting the probability, then can you see the difference? Now actually female probability is more than male. Okay, I think for both the bins, I have given the same name. That is why it is coming like that. I think it is male. So now you will understand. See, previous plot we were interpreting like, the previous interpretation was like the number of female was lesser than number of male. This is what we were concluding from the previous plot. But actually speaking, there was a difference in the count of male and female. So it is not advisable to plot you only with the numbers. So I'm just giving you, or I'm just converting the plot into probability values. Now you can see blue color histogram is higher than your red color histogram. That is, female is having much higher probability at the smaller age of getting a job. Okay, so this is how you can conclude from the histogram. So make sure that always you don't compare the numbers in your data set. At this say case is something like this, you will make wrong assumptions if you consider only numbers. So it is just find out the numbers, and if it is an imbalanced count, maybe a probability or a percentage will give you much better idea than just numbers, because this numbers maybe it will cheat you at some point with those magnitudes. So this is called probability mass function or probability value. The only parameter you have to give extra is called your density is equal to true. And alpha parameter, I think already I told you, alpha is used for just making this transparent so that both the plots are visible at the same time. Again, instead of probability mass function, you can apply another function that is called a CDF. You can make cumulative is equal to true. The same plot you can make cumulative is equal to true. I'm just showing you with both the plots together. The same thing, the same male age dot histogram and female age dot histogram as I gave you as previously. I made density is equal to true, and I made cumulative is equal to true. That is, it is cumulative frequency. That is cumulative frequency or cumulative probability. It will start again. The probability will end up with 1. So this is what is called the different plot which you can start visualizing your data. Okay, so this is how you can visualize your male, female, and make conclusions. Ultimately, you can conclude, see, female is having higher probability than male. Again, I will just stop with one more analysis. I will do a simpler, very simple outlier analysis with this data. Actually, outlier analysis in detail we will see in the afternoon, but this is a basic outlier analysis. What I'm going to do is, I will already have plotted this. Say assume I'm not finding out the outlier analysis with any standard deviation or something like that. I assume age from 22 to 72 is a normal one. Say I have just an assumption, since say at the age of 10 or 15 getting a job is not possible or income is not possible. I assume it is just an assumption. And above 72, say I assume people will normally retire. Maybe people won't work after 70 or 72. So I'll just assume it is just an assumption. You can make any assumptions for this age. For time being, I'll assume that 22 to 72 is my age gap. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to filter my data. I'm just filtering my data with 22 to 72. This is what I'm doing at this point. I'm just finding out the higher income age people with the median. The median value is actually already we got the median value, the entire data set median value. I'm just finding out median minus 15 is 22 and median plus 35 is 72. It is just, again, I'll just make clear, it is just a value. It doesn't make any statistical significance. I'm just assuming 22 to 72 is normal, but we will see how to make this outlier specific or professional. Then what I'm going to do is, I'm going to delete all the values. I'm going to delete all the values which are outliers. This is what I'm going to do. This is just drop function. What drop it will do is, it'll just drop you all the values within this condition. So I'm giving you greater than 50. Then age should be till median plus 35 and median minus 15. All those values I'll just keep within those range alone. I'm going to delete all other values. So hope you can see the data now. See, it is 32,561 was my original size, and I deleted some of the outliers and I got 32,492. Say some of the outliers, I think I have displayed the counts over here. Lesser outlier was 5 and greater outlier was 69. So I deleted all those things and I got a bit smaller data set, which I'll delete all the outliers. Then I will do the mean median analysis. You can do mean median analysis on that. There is a small change in the mean and median. That is, once you delete your outliers, of course, it will have an effect on your mean. So there is a small change in the mean and median if you even delete your outliers. maybe this will be your proper statistics if you delete all those values. Okay, so this is just an analysis saying that if I delete the outlier, what will happen to my mean, median, and mode? Ultimately, see, there is a after deletion and previous deletion, there was a difference in the mean. With outliers, it was 2.58, and there is a without outliers, there was a difference. Mean difference was 2.44. That is male and female. With all the outliers, the difference was 2.58, and without any outliers, the age difference between male and female is 2.44. Then maybe you can conclude that there were more outliers in men than women, so that the difference is lowering because you are subtracting male and female. So since it is decreasing, you can say there were more outliers in the men than female. So all those conclusions you can make. Outlier analysis we will see in detail in the afternoon class. This is just a plot of my outliers. The pink color lines shows the normal values, and the outer lines, the blue color specifies you those outliers. So I just deleted those outliers, and ultimately I'll get a value which is almost uniform, because outlier in the sense it is represented as a peak. So this is what outlier analysis you can do. Just outlier analysis we will do in detail. Again, I will show you one more plot and finish this off. Once I'm just plotting the difference in ages. So what I'm getting is at the lower side, you have negative, and at the higher side you have a positive values. That means females is having higher probability for getting promoted and getting higher salaries at the younger age. So you can make a conclusion out of that. So all these conclusions are possible. I will just share you all these Jupyter notebook with you so that you can just go through. I think it's time. So this is how you can make conclusions out of your data. Then you can just go through the skewness and kurtosis values also. The skewness, it will just tell you how your data is skewed. Skewness, again, one more thing is it is not required that you have to write a function to find out the skewness. You can directly Python, it will support you. .skew function is available. But the skewness value may be male skewness, I'm finding out female skewness. Then from the male or from the skewness value, I can just make a conclusion like male or in the gender category, male is more prone to retirement earlier than women. That is, women will retire much younger age than male. All those assumptions you can make out of this skewness value. Okay, so this is how you can conclude or you can make assumptions out of your data. I will just share you this Jupyter notebook so that you can just try out and see. So this is how you can make conclusions or make statistical analysis out of your data and make conclusions out of your data. Hope it is clear to you. If you have any doubts, please you can ask me. Thank you.
Participants, you have any doubt? You ask. Ma'am is waiting for doubts.
Even you can share in the chat window, it is fine. Any comparison visualization technique available after pre-processing of our original dataset? You can start visualization in the sense you can plot something like the histogram which I showed you, sir. In the sense you can overlay. There is a plot that is called overlay plots, or you can combine two plots together. That is, there are mechanisms where you can create a box plot. Above that, you can create a violin plot or violin plot followed by swarm plot, so that you can compare. That is, two plots you can combine together. One for before pre-processing, one for after pre-processing. Then from the plot itself, you will be able to understand. That is one way. Or you can do something like the histogram which I showed you. That is one histogram before pre-processing, one histogram after pre-processing, or any plot, two together, or any two combination of plots are possible.
Okay, ma'am. We'll give break for half an hour.
Yes, sure. Okay,
Yes,
sir.
ma'am. We'll come back at 11:30.
Yes, sure. Thank
Thank
you.
you, ma'am. Thank
Thank you,
you. Dear participants, we have to take break. Half an hour break. We'll come 11:30. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.